Well, if you've been with us since the first two videos, we created a certificate for a queue manager, and we created a certificate for a user. Now our next task is going to be to get that queue manager's certificate into the user's key store, and we're going to set up Explorer with some default preferences so that when you make your connections, it'll just automatically use the right values. Now we've got an existing connection to the JMS demo queue manager on a non-secure channel. So we're just going to go ahead and take a look at that queue manager and make sure that it's pointing to the right key stores and everything, because that'll be important when we go to connect. So he's got the defaults key store specified, and you don't put the .kdb at the end, and then we're not specifying validation or reset count, certificate revocation list, anything like that. Now we did change the key store, and from within Explorer you can use this refresh security command. Anytime you change the key store, if you're going to pick up those changes, you have to do this. Now we're going to change it in a minute anyway, but I wanted to show you from Explorer what that looked like. So let's go ahead and create a secure channel. Now we've already got the admin server con, and I don't like to use system.anything because that's reserved. So we're going to create admin.tls.servercon. And incidentally, even though it says SSL everywhere, we're not using SSL. We never really have. It's been TLS the whole time. Now anyone connecting to this channel is going to be an administrator, so we're going to go ahead and put in an administrative user ID, and then we'll use channel auth rules to make sure of that. Now under CipherSpec, we want to pick something with TLS, not SSL. Even though MQ only uses TLS, you can use an SSL cipher in a TSL protocol. It's just weak. And we're going to use SHA instead of MD5. Just never pick the MD5. Now we're not going to use SSL peer because we can do that with channel auth records, but we are going to use SSL CAuth required on that last panel. So there's our new channel. But before we can use it, we need the queue manager's key in our JKS, and we need our key in the queue manager's JKS. So here's where Explorer lives, and you can see that there's the JKS and our certificate in that ARM file. And this is a virtual machine, so we're going to go to the hosts drive. Whoops, not there, over here. Going to go to the host drive, and we're going to grab that JMS demo certificate that we created earlier, and we're going to copy it over to this directory. And there it is. And we're going to open up a command line, and we're going to check and see if keytool's in our path. It is not. Now we did this in the previous video, but I wanted to show it to you again. Where to go to find keytool, and we're going to stick that in our path. It's always in the bin directory of the Java runtime environment. There we go. So now we should be able to find keytool when we need it. Now a minute ago we copied the queue manager's certificate into our directory. Now we need to copy our certificate to the queue manager's directory. Once again, this is a virtual machine, so I'm just going to copy it to the hosts folder, and we now have our certificate where the queue manager can get to it. Okay, so we've exchanged certificates. Now I've actually got to get the certificate into the key store in order for it to be useful. To do that, we need the import command. We've got to tell the key store what alias to use. I'm intentionally putting this in uppercase. You'll see later that when it displays, it's going to be in lowercase. We have to give it the file name, and we have to give it the key store password. Since this is a public key, there's no need to give it a key store password. We do, however, have to specify the key store itself. So there, tyat.jks. So there's our JKS. I'm going to make a copy of it, just in case we screw it up. Then we can always go back to that copy. So now we're doing the import, and it says, do you want to trust the certificate? It seems like a goofy question, but there's actually a bit flag that says, here's a certificate in the key store, it's not trusted, but we can use it, for example, to validate things even though we're not trusting it as a signer. So let's go ahead and list that key store. Bet you're wishing you had the --stashed option about now, aren't you? Because when you don't have it, there's a strong incentive to use these really weak passwords. Okay, so we now have the certificate we had before plus the JMS demo certificate. And we can actually list the certificate by typing in the alias. And if we put a -v, then we'll get all the details and not just the title. So there's the certificate name. Notice it says email address at the end, not email. That was that difference I mentioned before. When you enter the field, it's email. When it displays it in the key tool, it displays it as email address. So a little bit of a discrepancy, just be aware of that. And we can display the personal certificate, and there's the personal certificate as well. Notice that the certificate chain length is 1. That's as effective as specifying CA equals false, because in order to sign another certificate, your chain length has to be greater than 1. And Java likes the chain length and displays that. GSKit likes the CA flag and displays that. So there we go. Now we're going to go out to our preferences and set up just the default. So first of all, let's let it save passwords, because we don't want to have to type in our passwords every time. And we might end up with different passwords for different queue managers or different key stores. So it keeps them in this file, which, as you see, is in your personal documents and settings directory. So it should be about the safest place on a workstation that you can put something like that. Now we're going to go ahead and enable the default repositories. Now these are just the defaults, but anytime you create a new connection, it will fill them in. And we're going to go ahead and put the passwords in, because it will save those now that we have password saving turned on into that encrypted password store in your documents and settings. There's a separate entry here for a key store and for a trust store. So a lot of places will put all the the public keys into the trust store and then just mail that file around, in which case you can have 2 different files. So we're going to enable the default options, so whenever we create a new channel with TLS, it'll fill in the values that we want. And for our enterprise, again, we're going to prefer TLS, we're going to prefer SHA, not MD5, and we're just going to pick that particular one. We're going to skip enabling user ID identification, because we're just always going to use what's on the channel. So that's it. Join us in the next video. We're going to look at putting all this together.